My husband put down the divorce papers with a smile and said, "Accept my mistress, or we'll break up." My husband placed the divorce papers on the kitchen table with a calm smile and said, "Accept my mistress, or we end this right now." I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I picked up a pen and signed. But before I tell you why he turned pale the second I did that, let me start from the beginning. Hi, I'm Rachel Thompson. I'm 46 years old. I live in a quiet suburb just outside Dallas, Texas, in a 2-story brick house with white shutters and a front yard I used to take pride in. If you had asked me 2 months ago to describe my life, I would have said safe, stable, predictable. I had a husband of 17 years. His name was David. We had one daughter in college and a son in high school. I packed lunches. I attended football games. I hosted Thanksgiving. I paid bills on time. I believed in my marriage. Or maybe I believed in the version of it I created in my head. That Tuesday evening started like any other. I was in the kitchen, stirring marinara sauce on the stove. The house smelled like garlic and basil. The dishwasher hummed in the background. I remember wiping my hands on a dish towel when I heard the front door open. David walked in differently that night. He didn't sigh about traffic. He didn't toss his keys into the bowl by the entry table like he always did. He walked in straight, confident, almost proud. He was wearing his charcoal suit, the expensive one he only wore for important meetings. His hair was perfectly styled, and he smelled like cologne I didn't recognize. It wasn't the woody scent he had worn for years. This one was sharp. New, young. "Rachel," he said. Not honey, not babe. Just Rachel. He didn't kiss me. He walked straight to the dining table and placed a thick envelope down in front of him. The sound echoed louder than it should have. "Sit down," he said calmly. Something inside me shifted. I turned off the stove and sat across from him. The envelope lay between us like a weapon. "I'm not going to waste time," David said, folding his hands together. "I've met someone." Quote, the words hit me, but strangely, I wasn't surprised. "Her name is Lauren," he continued. "She's 30. She works in marketing. She makes me feel alive again." Alive again. As if I had been killing him slowly. I stared at him, waiting for guilt. There was none. Only confidence. "I've been seeing her for 6 months, he added. 6 months. That meant holidays. That meant my birthday. That meant the weekend he said he was at a work conference in Austin. "I deserve happiness," he said. "And I'm done pretending this marriage isn't dead." My hands were cold, but my voice stayed steady. "So why am I here?" I asked. He slid the envelope toward me. "Because I'm offering you a choice." I opened it. "Divorce papers. I'm filing," he said, "unless you're willing to be reasonable." Reasonable. He leaned back in his chair like a businessman closing a deal. "I want Lauren in my life. Openly. I don't want to sneak around anymore. If you can accept that, we stay married legally. You keep the house. You keep the lifestyle. I'll still provide. I'll just spend weekends with her." Quote. He actually smiled. "You're not exactly young anymore, Rachel. Dating at your age isn't easy. Think smart. Accept her, or we end this." The silence stretched between us. He believed I was trapped. 17 years ago, I left my career in finance to support his dream of opening his own construction firm. I handled the books from home while raising our children. I balanced every account. I negotiated vendor contracts. I made sure taxes were paid. But over time, as his company grew, he pushed me out. "You don't need to worry about the numbers anymore," he had said years ago. "Just relax. Enjoy what I provide." Slowly, my access disappeared. Passwords changed. Accounts separated. Statements went paperless. He thought I stopped paying attention. But I never stopped being an accountant. 3 months before that night, I started noticing changes. New gym membership. New suits. Phone always face down. Late nights. And one evening, while cleaning his truck, I found a gold bracelet under the passenger seat. Delicate. Feminine. Not mine. When I asked him about it, he laughed. It's probably from one of the guys' wives. You're overthinking. I wasn't. That night, after he fell asleep, I logged into our shared investment account. The password was still our daughter's birthday. What I found made my hands shake. He had withdrawn $75,000 from our savings over 4 months. Transfers labeled consulting fees, luxury apartment payments, jewelry stores, restaurants, wine bars. And then I saw something that changed everything. Our son's college fund. Nearly drained. Money my mother left him before she passed. Money meant for his future. Transferred into an account under Lauren Mitchell. I didn't confront David that night. I gathered evidence. Downloaded statements. Screenshotted transfers. Backed everything up. Then I met with a lawyer quietly the following week. So when David sat across from me offering me a choice, he believed I was powerless. He believed I didn't know. He believed I was desperate. I looked down at the divorce papers. Then I looked up at the man I once loved. My options, I said slowly, are to share my husband with a woman half my age or to divorce you. Yes, he said smoothly, and divorce won't be easy for you. I reached into the drawer behind me and pulled out a pen. His smile widened. I knew you'd make the smart decision, he said. I signed my name, Rachel Thompson. Clear, bold, steady. Then I pushed the papers back toward him. I choose divorce, I said. His smile vanished. What? He whispered. I choose divorce. You misunderstood, he said quickly. I wasn't serious about filing. It was leverage. I was negotiating. No, I said calmly. You were threatening. His face turned pale. You can't survive without me, he said. I stood up slowly. You stole from our son, I said quietly. You funded your affair with his future. He froze. How do you... I know everything. The confidence drained from his face like water from a cracked glass. But here's what he didn't know. He wasn't the only one hiding something. And before I tell you how I exposed his secrets in front of the people who mattered most, you need to understand how I helped build the empire he was so proud of. Because David Thompson didn't create his success alone. And he was about to learn exactly how much of it legally belonged to me. Now let me take you back 17 years, to the woman I used to be. 17 years ago, I was not the woman standing in a quiet kitchen signing divorce papers. I was sharp, focused, ambitious. I was 29 years old, working as a senior financial analyst at one of the top firms in Dallas. I wore tailored suits. I carried a leather briefcase. I handled million-dollar portfolios without blinking. Numbers made sense to me. Risk made sense to me. I met David at a charity gala downtown. He was charming, confident, loud in a room full of louder men. He made me laugh in a way no one else did. He talked about building something big. His own construction company. His own legacy. At that time, he was just a project manager, with big dreams and small savings. We fell in love fast. After we got married, he came to me one night with spreadsheets printed on cheap paper. He spread them across our small apartment table and said, if we combine what you've saved and what I can borrow, I can start my own company. But I need you with me. Not behind him, with him. I believed him, so I cashed out part of my retirement. I used the inheritance my father left me to cover the first office lease. I set up the accounting system. I built the payroll structure. I negotiated supplier discounts. For the first 5 years, I did everything. I managed books during the day while pregnant. I balanced accounts at night while rocking our newborn daughter in one arm. I caught tax errors that could have shut the company down. David would come home excited, telling me about landing new clients. This is our success, he would say, kissing my forehead. You're my partner. I held on to those words for years, but as the company grew, something shifted. He hired an outside accounting firm. He told me to step back. You've done enough, he said. Enjoy being home. Focus on the kids. Quote, at first it felt like relief. Then it felt like erasure. Gradually, meetings happened without me. Contracts were signed without my review. Accounts moved without my oversight. And I let it happen. Because I trusted him. Because I loved him. Because I believed in us. 3 months ago, that illusion cracked. We were at his company's annual awards banquet at a hotel in downtown Dallas. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, expensive wine. David won Business Leader of the Year. I clapped until my palms hurt. Later, I walked toward the bar to grab water. I stopped when I heard his voice. He was standing with two younger executives. "Rachel's great," he said casually, "but she doesn't really understand the pressure anymore. She's been out of the game so long. Honestly, she'd be lost without me." The men laughed. Lost. I was the one who built the financial structure of his company from scratch. I was the one who set up the auto payments for utilities he bragged about covering. But in his version of reality, I was decorative. Replaceable. I didn't confront him that night. I went home. I lay beside him while he slept peacefully, and I started thinking. After that banquet, I noticed everything. The new gym membership across town. The private phone calls in the garage. The way he guarded his phone like it contained state secrets. One evening, his phone buzzed while he was showering. It lit up on the bathroom counter. Lauren, M. A heart emoji. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. 2 weeks later, I found the bracelet in his truck. 1 week after that, I found the transfers in the college account. That was when sadness turned into calculation. I contacted a lawyer quietly. Her name is Susan Parker. Calm voice. Sharp mind. When I showed her the statements, she leaned back and said, "Rachel, he didn't just cheat, he committed financial misconduct. In Texas, that matters." I provided everything. Every transfer, every invoice, every luxury payment tied to Lauren. And here's what David didn't know. The company he believed was entirely his. It was registered originally as a joint marital asset, and when he refinanced it 8 years ago, he used our home as collateral, which meant I had leverage, a lot of leverage. So when he placed those divorce papers in front of me, smiling like a king offering mercy, I already knew something he didn't. His company was in the middle of negotiating a major contract with the city, a contract worth millions. And I still had access to certain internal documents. Documents showing irregular billing approvals he personally signed. Some payments routed through an outside marketing consultant, Lauren Mitchell Consulting. Except Lauren didn't have a registered business license, which meant those payments could be interpreted as misuse of corporate funds. And city contracts require clean audits, very clean audits. Back in the kitchen that night, after I signed the papers, David panicked. "You're overreacting," he said, running his hands through his hair. "We can fix this." "You gave me a choice," I replied. "I chose." "You'll regret this," he said. "You have no income, no recent experience." I looked at him calmly. "You're right," I said. "I haven't audited a company in years." He relaxed slightly. Then I added, "But I remember exactly how." His face tightened. "You wouldn't," he said. "Wouldn't what?" "Rachel, don't be dramatic." I walked to my office, the room he had slowly turned into storage space. I pulled out a folder. His smile faded again. Inside were copies of questionable transactions tied to Lauren. "You stole from our son," I said. "You moved corporate funds to support your affair." "It's not theft," he snapped. "It's consulting." "For what? Instagram captions?" His jaw clenched. "You wouldn't destroy everything," he said quietly. I stepped closer. "I built it too." He looked at me differently then. Not as his wife, not as his dependent, but as someone dangerous. And that's when he realized something else. I hadn't cried. I hadn't begged. I hadn't even raised my voice. Because I was already 3 steps ahead. But what happened next wasn't just legal. It became public. And it started with an invitation to his company's summer family event the following Saturday, an event where David planned to appear as the perfect husband one last time. He had no idea I was going, and he had no idea who else would be there. David texted me the next morning like nothing had happened. "Don't forget the company family event on Saturday. It's important." Important. He needed to look stable, successful, supported. The city contract announcement was happening that afternoon at the event. Investors would be there, local officials, media, and he wanted his wife smiling beside him. I replied with one word, "Okay." He didn't question it. He thought I had folded. He thought signing the divorce papers meant I had accepted defeat. He had no idea I had already made 2 very important phone calls. The first was to my lawyer, Susan. The second was to someone David respected more than anyone, his biggest competitor and potential investor in the city contract, Michael Grant. Michael owned one of the largest development firms in North Texas. 5 years ago, David tried to partner with him but was rejected. Michael didn't trust him. I always wondered why. When I called Michael's office, I introduced myself properly. Rachel Thompson, I believe you and I have something important to discuss regarding logistics development. There was a pause. Then he agreed to meet. We met in a quiet cafe downtown. Michael was in his early 50s, calm, observant, sharp eyes that missed nothing. I laid the documents on the table. Corporate payments redirected, unlicensed consulting transfers, college fund withdrawals that overlapped with company reimbursements. He studied everything carefully. You understand, he said slowly, if these numbers are accurate, this jeopardizes the city bid. I understand, I replied. And you're willing to expose this publicly? I'm willing to protect what belongs to my children. He leaned back. I've suspected David was cutting corners. I didn't know he was sloppy. He wasn't sloppy, I said. He was arrogant. Michael looked at me for a long moment. Saturday, he said finally. I'll be there. Saturday arrived bright and hot. I stood in my bedroom staring at my closet. David expected soft colors, something quiet, something supportive. Instead, I chose a fitted navy dress. Professional, strong, clean lines. I straightened my hair, minimal jewelry, neutral makeup. I didn't want to look emotional. I wanted to look controlled. When I arrived at the lakeside venue, families were already gathered under white tents. Kids running near bounce houses, executives shaking hands. David was near the stage, laughing with city officials. When he saw me, he smiled with relief. You came, he said, stepping closer. Good. I said I would. He lowered his voice. Let's just get through today smoothly. After the contract announcement, we can talk. I nodded. Lauren was there. She stood near the back, wearing a white sundress and oversized sunglasses. She tried to look casual, but she kept watching David. Watching us. Our eyes met briefly. She looked confident. She had no idea. The CEO stepped onto the stage around noon. Today marks a major milestone for our company, he announced. The city development contract will shape Dallas for years to come. Applause. David squeezed my hand for effect. I let him. Then I saw Michael. He walked in quietly with 2 other executives and a representative from the city council. David's smile faltered. He hadn't expected Michael to attend. The CEO paused when he saw him. Michael Grant, he said warmly, glad you could make it. Michael nodded. I wouldn't miss it. The announcement continued. Logistics Development was officially being considered the leading candidate for the city contract pending final audit approval. David beamed. Then Michael stepped forward. Before final approval, he said calmly, I believe there are financial discrepancies that need addressing. The crowd shifted. David's grip on my hand tightened. What discrepancies? The CEO asked. Michael handed over a folder, the kind that raised concerns about internal integrity. The CEO flipped through the pages. His expression changed. He looked at David. Is this accurate? David released my hand. This is taken out of context, he said quickly. Consulting expenses. Quote, consulting to an unlicensed individual tied personally to you? Michael asked evenly. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lauren's face drained of color. The CEO turned another page. These payments overlap with company reimbursements. David's jaw clenched. It's personal, he snapped. It has nothing to do with corporate funds. It has everything to do with corporate funds, I said clearly. Every head turned toward me. I stepped forward. For 6 months, David transferred company money under the label of consulting to fund an affair. Those same months, he drained our son's college account. The silence was heavy. Lauren looked at David in shock. You told me you were separated, she whispered. David ignored her. Rachel, stop, he hissed, but I didn't. You told me I would be nothing without you. I continued calmly. You told me I should accept your mistress to keep my lifestyle. I looked at the CEO. This is the man representing your company. The CEO's face hardened. David, we need to discuss this privately, now. Investors were whispering. Phones were recording. Michael stepped beside me quietly. David looked trapped. Lauren stepped backward slowly, trying to disappear into the crowd. The event dissolved into chaos. Within minutes, the contract announcement was postponed pending investigation. David was escorted off the stage. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. Michael looked at me. You handled that well. I handled it fairly, I replied. Lauren hurried past me toward the parking lot. Did you know? I asked softly as she passed. She stopped. He said you were cold, that you didn't understand him. I smiled slightly. He doesn't understand numbers. She didn't answer. She just walked away. Later that evening, David called. How dare you, he shouted. You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself, I said calmly. You destroyed my career. You gambled it. There was silence on the line. Then his voice changed. Rachel, please. We can fix this. I closed my eyes. No, David, we can't. He had no idea that what happened at the company event was only the beginning, because Monday morning, the audit committee would officially open an investigation. And I wasn't just fighting for a divorce anymore. I was fighting for everything he thought he owned. Monday morning, the investigation became official. By noon, David's access to company accounts was frozen. By Tuesday, he was placed on administrative leave. By Wednesday, the board requested a full internal audit. He called me every single day, sometimes angry, sometimes begging, sometimes silent on the other end of the line, just breathing like he didn't know how to exist without someone managing his life. But for the first time in 17 years, I didn't feel responsible for fixing him. I felt responsible for protecting my children. The forensic audit moved fast. Once Michael opened the door, the rest followed easily. Vendor invoices were reviewed. Payment histories were analyzed. Internal approvals were examined. It didn't take long. David had rerouted more than I even realized. Not just to Lauren. There were personal expenses hidden inside company reimbursements. Travel marked as business that clearly wasn't. Equipment purchases that never arrived. It wasn't just an affair. It was ego spending. And ego always leaves a paper trail. The board terminated him within 2 weeks. No severance, no bonus, stock options revoked. The city contract shifted to Michael's firm quietly. David went from respected executive to cautionary tale almost overnight. Meanwhile, our divorce proceedings moved forward. His lawyer tried to argue that I had damaged his career intentionally. Susan simply presented the timeline, the transfers, the misuse of marital funds, the draining of our son's college account. The judge didn't look impressed. In Texas, wasting marital assets on an affair carries consequences. Real consequences. David was ordered to repay every dollar taken from the children's accounts. The house remained mine. Primary custody remained mine. His retirement accounts were divided heavily in my favor due to financial misconduct. When the final papers were signed, he looked smaller than I had ever seen him. Not physically, but in spirit. I never thought you'd do this, he said quietly in the courthouse hallway. Do what? I asked. Fight me. I looked at him calmly. I didn't fight you. I defended myself. He swallowed hard. Lauren left, he said. I wasn't surprised. When the money disappeared, so did the excitement. She said it was too much drama, he added. I didn't respond. Because the truth was simple. Lauren was never the real problem. David's entitlement was. The week after the divorce was finalized, I did something I hadn't done in years. I updated my resume, not because I needed to, but because I wanted to. Within a month, I accepted a position as a financial compliance consultant. I didn't return to long corporate hours. Instead, I specialized in helping small businesses clean up their books before audits. The irony wasn't lost on me. I helped companies avoid becoming what David had become. At home, things changed slowly. My son asked fewer questions about his father over time. My daughter visited from college and hugged me tighter than she ever had before. "You look different," she said one evening while we were washing dishes. "Different how?" "Stronger. Maybe I was. Or maybe I had always been strong." I had just been quiet about it. 3 months after everything ended, I received a letter in the mail. It was a repayment check from David. The first installment toward restoring our son's college fund. Attached was a short note. "I'm sorry I underestimated you." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Underestimated. That was the word. He underestimated my intelligence, my memory, my integrity, my ability to survive without him. But the truth is, I had underestimated myself too. For years, I had convinced myself that stepping back meant love, that silence meant peace, that sacrifice meant loyalty. What I learned instead was this: love does not require humiliation. Peace does not require blindness. And loyalty does not mean allowing someone to steal your dignity. One evening, months later, I was cleaning out the junk drawer in the kitchen. The same drawer where I had grabbed the pen to sign the divorce papers. I found an old receipt folded in the back. A dinner bill from a restaurant David once took me to when his company first made a profit. At the bottom, in his handwriting, it said, "To our future." I smiled softly. He thought the future belonged to him. He thought success made him untouchable. But the future doesn't belong to arrogance. It belongs to the one who keeps records, to the one who stays aware, to the one who refuses to be small. Signing those divorce papers wasn't the end of my life. It was the moment I stepped back into it. If you're listening to my story and someone has ever tried to make you feel replaceable, invisible, or powerless, I want you to remember this. You are not weak for loving. You are not foolish for trusting. But you are powerful when you decide enough is enough. That night in the kitchen, when David smiled and told me to accept his mistress or lose everything, he believed I was trapped. What he didn't realize was that the only thing I lost was him. And that turned out to be the greatest gain of my life.